Good morning again, and welcome to episode 3 of the Slingshot Chronicles on the Jester's lab. As you can see, it's crap weather again. So today we're going to talk a bit about banding your slingshot, what bands to use, what weights to use, etc, etc. Let me just find a spot at the table so I can make up the band set as well on video, and here we go. Okay, let's start by talking a little bit about tubes. There are two options basically in sling shooting, tubes versus bands. They both have their advantages, they both have their disadvantages, so we'll start with tubing. The biggest advantage with tubing that I find, and I put up with all the other disadvantages just because of this, is its longevity. So you can't kill a tube, you can put up set of tubes on a slingshot and shoot them for years. They are a bit more silent than the bands. They don't have a cracking whip sort of sound to them, you know, so they're pretty good if hunting is your thing. I don't hunt, my targets are paper, so they don't mind the sound at all. The disadvantage of tubes is they're a bit rigid, which makes them a bit inaccurate, I think, compared to bands, but jury's out. Some people say they are, some people say they aren't. So tubes come in all sorts of sizes and thicknesses. I source most of my latex in China off the internet. They make good quality stuff. There's a few good brands, GZK and Precise come to mind. They make fantastic latex. But just to show you the variety out there, you know, so you start with 1842, 2040. Just to explain, the 18 means it's a 1.8 millimeter hole down the middle, so internal diameter, and the 42 is 4.2 millimeter external diameter. And the varieties are endless, like you've got 1842, 2045, that's a 1745, which is the rubber I use the most. It seems to be the rubber that kind of works with me. 2050, slightly heavier again. Then you got 3060, slightly heavier again. 4070, heavier again. 6090, really heavy. I use this on sling bows mostly. And then there's 7010, which is like 7 millimeters internal diameter and 10 millimeter internal diameter, and is just too rigid for slingshots, but I use it to secure bands onto frames, which we will touch on in the next episode. So basically there's a lot of variety. Tubes are easy to make. I'll make a set right now and show you how to make a band set, but you can also buy them ready-made, which is just as easy. For example, just to give you an example, you can buy these loop bands for less than $1 from the internet in China. They come with a pouch, and eventually when the band snaps, I salvage the pouch and use it again, and just use my own latex. Sometimes I find these Chinese tubes can tend to be a bit short. I think it's just a matter of the draw lengths not being so good, not being so long. So you can buy them like these are. That's a 2050. These are 1745s. These are 2050s again, and they're all pre-made. These are 3060s, and these are multiples, 6-banders. I've got just one friend that uses them. I bought a bunch of these pre-made, but unfortunately they're a bit short. And what they are, they've got a little ball bearing in the end of them, and that kind of secures down the hole in the frame. So let me show you a few configurations now of different ways to use tubes. There's the obvious way, which is the looped tube. Here's one with gypsy tabs, and slingshot with gypsy tabs. So what I do is I tie the tab, and it's a leather tab. I tie that onto the frame, and then I put the looped tubes through the tabs. This is actually 2040 rubbers on this one. So that's one way of doing it. That's a loop tube configuration. You can also use loops on slingshots like my jelly bean, like so. So I like them. They have a heavy draw, and they work pretty damn well. But accuracy-wise, they do suffer. Then you've also got single tubes. So what you do with these ones is you shove a ball bearing down the tube there, and then you've got a groove in the end of the slingshot, and you grab it and you stretch it and put it through. It's that simple. So attach-wise, these ball bearing ones are really cool. As far as naturals are concerned, I wouldn't really trust the natural on that. So what I do is I double them over. I drill 2 holes, one there and one there, cut a groove down the front of the slingshot, and then what I do is I run the rubber through here, out the other hole, and just put the ball bearing in there, which secures it onto the frame. It's a good attach method. I don't see many people using this. And just on a side note, in episode 1 the lighting wasn't very good. I reckon this looks like a goat's face. I don't know if you guys agree. Anyway, another way to band up a slingshot with tubes is like that. These ones, once again, use the ball bearing type affair. You've just got slots on the end of the slingshot. I mean, I can reband the slingshot in pretty much 30 seconds. You just grab them, pull them out, put them back in, just do the same in reverse. You just go 1, 2, 3, draw it, it's done. So as far as rebanding these things, they're a bit fiddly to make the bands to begin with, to make the band sets, but once you have the band sets, you just carry them like this in a bag ready made, and if you have a mishap, you have a band snap, whatever, take them off, 30 seconds later, you're in business again. Okay, so that's the bit about looped tubes. Now I'll stop the camera for a second and I'll talk a bit about bands and how to decide what bands to use, etc. Okay, so now we're on the topic of bands. I source my bands usually from what, Conrad? Shush. I source my bands from something. What do you want? Okay, I love you too. I source my bands from basically they're exercise yoga resistance bands. You find them all over the place. I mean, I find them on my shop. Some people have this obsession with TheraBand Gold. I hear it mentioned a lot, but I've really found that just common raw latex without any coloring in that seems to be the fastest stuff. And over time I've used a lot of bands, but now I've settled for 3 thicknesses basically. I've settled for 0.5, 0.65 and 0.8. I use the 0.5 and 0.65s to shoot really light ammo, like really small glass ammo, and I use the 0.8s with 8mm balls. Just to give you an example, this is the 0.65 rubber. As you can see, it's really flimsy, and this is the 0.8 rubber, which is much thicker. Okay, so when we decide we're going to make some band sets, first thing we have to do is we have to decide the thickness of the bands. We have to decide the length of the bands. The length of the bands you do by taking a bit of the rubber, say this one here, okay, measuring a few inches out. Say I'm going to measure 3 inches out on the ruler right there, right? I'm going to hold it on the end of the ruler. Actually, we'll measure 2 inches out. I'll measure 2 inches, hold it on the end of the ruler, and pull it to its stretch limit, which is pretty much 10 inches. So this rubber has a elasticity value of 5 to 1. So what you do now is if you're going to band your slingshot with this rubber, you're going to take a tape measure, hold it in your hand like you would hold a slingshot, and draw the tape up to your normal anchor point. Have a look at that length and divide it by 5, and you'll have the right length for your bands that you want. Always include a little bit for whatever you're tying. I use about 15 mil for the tie-up and about 8 mil to secure the pouch. So you got to add that to the slingshot length, basically. I don't like drawing the rubbers to full length. Having a bit of slack, I think, is better while you're taking aim. If you really have to, you're holding the slingshot like that. You can draw it out to about 90%, which is where I like to have them. And then just before you take the shot, you overdraw and release. It kind of works well. So, rubbers, basically, I just keep them like that in a tub or like in a nice tidy roll in a bag. What's important with rubbers is because it's a roll, you're going to be taking it out of the bag, you're going to be handling it. The oils from your hands actually perish the rubbers. Having talcum powder covering putting a bit of talcum powder in the bag or the container or whatever, you can see the talc in the bottom there. It actually preserves and lengthens the life of your rubbers. Don't touch them with oil. Some people like to clean them up with Armor All, but really for the amount of effort it just takes as long to change a bandset as it does to clean an old bandset up with Armor All, and you don't really lengthen their life by that much, so it's not really worth the effort. Okay, let me stop the camera for a while and get the kit out before I do actually. Alright, so there's another thing, same as with the tubes, you can also buy pre-made band sets, right? And because I've actually settled into one thickness and one size, I shoot 8mm balls most of the time. It's what I do unless I'm trying to do more destruction, basically. So you can buy these ready-made band sets. I buy them in bags of 10 from China, right? And they will fit any of the Chinese frames that are made with 20mm fork ends on them, such as this one, which is my everyday shooter, right? So these rubbers, they always taper from 20mm to 12mm. They're long enough to overdraw. I found them great, and I buy them for like 30 cents a band set, which almost is not worth the effort. So for my Chinese slingshots, I don't actually make them. I just buy bags of them like that. Once again, melt the talcum powder in there. They last 4 years if you put talcum powder in them. Whereas if you don't, they tend to perish a bit. Okay, so that's what I do with these ones pre-bought. But I mean, I'm going to make a band set now for a wider one. You can make the skinny ones as well, but I find it's easier just to buy them in, basically. Okay, let me stop the camera for a second and just get the tools out, and we'll make a quick band set together, right? Okay, now, when you look at my natural slingshots, the ones I band myself, I'm really not restricted by the 20mm fork size. So I tend to make my own bands and custom make them and cut them really wide for heavy weight. As you can see, there's little instructions there of the little man doing exercise, just in case you doubted whether I was telling the truth about the exercise bands. And this is particularly good rubber, and it's just, I buy it from Lidl. It's €8 for 2 rolls and 2 big fat bands. So as you can see, here's the one I shoot a lot. Once again, the bands are quite wide and doubled over. So let's give you an example of how I make the bands for these frames, where I don't tend to use pre-mades. You need some essentials. You need cutting mat. You need yourself a ruler. I tend to like these architect rulers because you can really hang on to them and put pressure down to cut your latex, you need rotary cutter, a must. And you keep the blades sharp on this, because any cut that's irregular or any nick or any funny business will just muck you up. You also need something, be it dental floss, be it a strip of skinny rubber cut out of a band, to secure the pouch onto the bands. Now, I tend to use this stuff. I don't know if it's visible on camera. This is like a white rubber sort of stringy type stuff that I use to secure the pouches on. And I believe I buy this from GZK as well. It's on their website, and it's very cheap and it's awesome. I've never had one let go. I've never had a pouch let go yet. Alright, so let me try and move the camera a bit and point it downwards like this. Maybe put it on a raised spot like that, so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so the other essential thing you need, not for this but for the tubes, you need a nice little plier as well, just to hold them together while you string them up. However, alright, so we have our bit of latex. So what I'm going to do is, first thing you do is, this one, if you notice, has a bit of a taper on it already, because I've already taken a pair of tapered bands out of it. We're going, for argument's sake, to make, let me see how much rubber I've got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I've got enough to make a band set that's 30 mil wide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a 30 mil to 20 mil taper. So I start off with this edge. I line it up with the grid on the cutting mat. I go to the corner over here, and I go to the 5mm mark over there, like so. And that's my taper. Get my blade. Make sure you press, tidy, definite pressure. And that's the tapered bit, okay? Right, so now we have the taper, and 5mm taper, so we're going to line the tip up over there, and then the 5mm mark over here, and then go to the 30mm mark over here, and the 25mm mark over here. Make sure you place it properly. Symmetry is very important when you're making band sets. Slice that fella off. So now you've got one tapered band, but your taper is already set over here. So what you can do now is you can just go ahead, find the 30 mark over here, find the 20 mark over here, and slice it the other way. And there we have it. 1, 2 pairs of matching tapered bands. Boing, boing. Alright, let me turn the camera up a bit. Now we're going to actually tie the pouches to a pouch to the 2 bands. So, some people use jigs like these things. I found out in the long run that I really don't like them, and I do it all by hand. As far as pouches is concerned, I actually buy them. I don't bother making them. I have leather, and I have made them before, but you can buy them that cheap. There's this. These ones are made for tubes, as are these ones, and then these are made for bands. These can be used for tubes or bands. So let's find ourselves a pouch which will fit those bands. We'll use one of these. These pouches you can buy for China very cheap as well. They're perfect for 8mm balls. That's why I have so many of them. These are 2-hole pouches that I buy from China as well. I mean, it's easier just to buy them. That's what I'm saying. These pouches are crap. I bought them as an experiment and they didn't work too well. They just tear off. Alright, so we're going to get ourselves a pouch. We're going to get our band. And we're going to fold it over like this. So that we have a corner sticking up, right? We're going to poke that little corner through the hole in the pouch. Ooh, maybe I should have worn my glasses to do this video. Don't worry. We'll try and do it by feel. How's that? Alright, and we'll pull the rubber through that way. Like so. So what I do is I pull about maybe 8mm out the end of the pouch there. So I get my little magic Chinese string here and I cut myself a piece like so, and it's a bit like serving a bowstring in archery. So I fold, it's folded like that, okay? I fold it down like this, stretch it like so, and put pressure on it. And I grab the string and I start wrapping it around. Some people like 2, some people like 3. I do 7, just because it's a lucky number. And close it off with a double overhand knot. So that's 1. If you pull these, they always snap at the knot. If you over pull them, they always snap at the knot and you have to start again. So you gotta kind of learn the feel for them. Man, I should have worn my glasses, really. People will be looking at that. This guy, look at this fumbling old idiot. Okay, so that's one side tied up, like so. Now, it's important that, obviously, if you've come in this way with the first band, you come in the same way with the second band. So, pop the second band through here. Through the hole. Once again, make sure that there's symmetry so that it's folded towards me. So we'll fold this towards me as well. We'll pull it out to the 10mm mark or so. Get ourselves a bit of magic China string if we can. Snip. Okay, same thing again. So grab it like that, fold it over, like so. Give it a stretch. Grab the string. 1, 2, 3. That's our 7 turns. It's important that you keep the tension on this always. If you don't keep the tension, that pouch is going to let go. And it's closed up. Grab that like that and snip that off there. Okay, so now I have the pouch done. This pouch has been made for an over-the-top slingshot. If you have a TTF slingshot, which I don't own and I don't shoot TTFs, I shoot over-the-tops and eyeline. If you have a TTF, you just turn the bands around at 90 degrees so they come out of the pouch like that. Now at the end of the whole show, I kind of grab this bit here and cut it just like that. That will not let go, so don't worry. You can cut it down to about a millimeter off where the knot is, of where the constrictor is. Right, so yeah, oh, there you go. And there's your completed band sets. That's how it goes. Alright, so I hope that fills you in for the banding side of things. In the next episode we will try and put this all together and look at the ways of we secure the bands onto the slingshot frame. Anything I forgot? Anything I forgot? Going, nothing I forgot. See you next episode. Bye.